You know, The Time Traveler's Wife was such a phenomenon. I mean, had to be beyond your wildest dreams phenomenon, I'm thinking. And I've wondered, how do you regroup after something so huge and the impact it must have had on your life? How do you even start another novel?
Well, the nice thing about it was that Time Traveler was published when I was 40, so I was a grown-up. And I already had several decades of working behind me, and I knew how to start the new thing. And it's not that I had been writing novels for 20 years, but I had been making one set of art after another, and I would have an art exhibit, and people would come and they would buy the work, and I would be like, hoo-ha, that was the best thing I ever did. I'll never do anything better than that. And then I would have to go in the studio and begin.
Start over.
And so, I mean, Time Traveler was certainly something that happened on a much larger scale, but for the most part, I wasn't really there to see it. It was happening in people's bedrooms and in cars and on beaches. I mean, the writers and the readers don't necessarily hang out together. And so while I was getting all these communiques in the form of email from people telling me what their experience was, it was, fortunately for me, distant enough that I didn't have to worry about it so much, and I could regroup and have enough quiet brain space to do the new thing. And it took a while. I mean, the second one took 7 years, but a lot of that was research because I had to go hang out at the cemetery.
Oh, gee, that was hard. You had to go to London and live for a while.
Yeah, well, I never have lived in London. I never actually have been there for more than, I think the longest period I was ever there was 2.5 weeks.
Oh, wow. I would have guessed you lived there because, like I said, you're so good at sense of place. You know, I bet a lot of our viewers do not know that you are also, would you term it a visual artist?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Could you tell them a little bit about that part of your life, and how does one become successful at both? That has to be pretty rare, isn't it?
I think so, but the models for success are so different in the two fields. I mean, I trained as a visual artist. I went to the School of the Art Institute of Chicago, and then I went to Northwestern. And I'm trained as a printmaker, a photographer, and a painter. And so for many years now, I've just been sitting there quietly in my studio making etchings, paintings, and such. And every couple of years having a show. And I mean, the thing with being a successful writer is that there's all these shops out there. I mean, there's all the Barnes and Nobles and Borders and independent bookstores of the world. And if a book manages to get out there, then a person has many, many places where they could encounter your book. Mm-hmm. If you make a painting, there it is, there's one of them. And let's say it goes on a gallery wall, and then someone buys it, so it's in their living room. Mm-hmm. So the number of people who will see it is very, very small. And unless something odd happens and you happen to get on the cover of Art News or something, the scale of the success is usually fairly contained. So it's just a much different proposition. And I mean, I was completely happy tooling along with an audience of a few hundred people. And when I would have a show, I could pretty much greet just about everybody by name who came to the opening.
I love your fans.
Yeah, it was very cozy.
But then how did you carve time out of that to write?
I don't have a family.
That helps.
Yeah, I don't have any kids. There's a couple of cats, but they're very understanding. And yeah, I live by myself. Don't watch TV. That frees up a couple hours a day.
But still, it's just hard for me to wrap my head around being good at two such complex and you're not just good, you're extraordinary.
Oh, thanks. Well, the thing is that it's all, for me, it's all one big thing together. And it's this world of the imagination where one goes to play. And I mean, as soon as you start defining it as a job or as work, then you're kind of in trouble.
Do they inform each other? And looking at your art, you definitely see the skeletons and the sense of an other world in the paintings that I looked at online.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all continuous. I mean, the same themes emerge over and over again. I mean, if you were to have everything I've ever done laid out in front of you and could somehow take it all in, the same themes would come up. The themes of love and loss and sex and death and
those are pretty classic themes.
rock and roll. Yeah, so it's not like I have one set of ideas over here and a completely different set of ideas over there. It's all a continuum.
It's really fascinating. You have published illustrated novels. I should do that. And you recently wrote a serialized graphic novel for The Guardian in England. And I was very excited to read that. This is going to be published here.
It is. It's going to come out as a book in the fall. Abrams is publishing it.
Oh, wonderful.
I am super excited because I just got the proofs and the color is glorious and they've done a few good little tweaks to it, so it's new and improved.
Abrams, for those of you who don't buy books all the time, is a publisher that's really known for its art books.
Yes.
So
They have superb designers and magnificent printers, and they've done my previous two published picture novels, and so I have complete faith that this is going to look wonderful. And
well, it's called the Night Bookmobile?
The Night Bookmobile. And the Night Bookmobile is meant to be chapter 1, or the first story in a much larger project called The Library.
Oh, well, I like it already, obviously.
Yeah, well, it's just me pandering to the librarians of the world, but yeah, I was so interested in the world in this story that I thought, well, I have to keep going because there's so many unanswered questions. And so for the first time in my life, I'm actually going to do a sequel.
Wow. Well, I just loved the excerpt that I read. You have this person who goes into this bookmobile and she's looking around, and the collection seems a little odd. There's bits of this and bits of that, and telephone books and photo albums and things you don't normally see in a library or bookmobile. And then she gradually realizes that she's read everything in there.
It's her bookmobile.
It's her bookmobile. But she also wonders if the driver, I love this line, I wondered if Mr. Openshaw was running around stealing books from all these places and putting them in his Winnebago. Because the bookmobile is actually Winnebago.
Yeah.
That's the library geek in me that I just loved that. And in closing, could you tell us a little bit about what's coming next besides the graphic novel? You have another book in the works?
I do. I'm working incredibly slowly. These things always start off incredibly slow and speed up as they go along. But yeah, the thing I'm trying to start working on is called The Chinchilla Girl in Exile. It's about a 9-year-old girl who has hypertrichosis, which is a genetic condition in which one is covered with hair. And she's highly attractive. She sort of looks like a kitten. She's got very lovely silky hair. But nevertheless, she's really different looking. And one of the things I want to think about with this book is what it's like when you're different, and what it's like to be a child who's different. And my little girl, her name is Lizzie, she's been homeschooled because her family is just afraid of what will happen if she is left to mingle with other children. And she finally insists that she would like to go to school, please, and so all hell breaks loose. She finds out.
Well, that sounds like something else that will have universal appeal to me. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. It was delightful.